Hi boys and girls, my name is Miss Jennifer, and I'm a teaching artist in the PACE Art program. I'm here to do some art with you today. I am glad you could join me. I have a really fun lesson planned for you today, and I think you will enjoy it. Today, we will be talking about different kinds of communities. What is a community, you might ask? Well, a community is a place in which people live. But not only people live in communities, animals can also live in communities. So we will be talking about animal communities today. Today we'll be focusing on an animal that looks just like this. And does anybody know what we call this kind of animal? Well, this animal is a ringtail lemur, and they have super long tails. We are going to be talking about the community in which they live. Now, they usually live in the wild, and that is a community. That is the area in which they live. But today, we're going to be talking about a zoo. And a zoo is also part of a community. What do you think you would find in a zoo? Well, if you said animals, maybe people who help the animals, people who feed them, maybe the veterinarians. Those are the people who come and take care of the animals when they're not feeling good. Maybe the people who sell the tickets at the door. And there are so many more people that are part of that zoo community. We are very lucky to have a zoo not far away from where we are. It is the zoo that used to be called the Zoo of Acadiana. It is now called Zooziana. If you ever get a chance, I would say go and see the animals in the zoo and look at the different communities of animals that belong to the zoo. In social living in school, you have been learning about communities of people, communities in which people work together, sort of like maybe school or places that your parents might work. You've been talking about communities as part of your neighborhood. So today, we're going to start to branch out a little bit, and we're going to talk about communities where animals live. Again, they live in the zoo. They also might live in the wild. Some of them are pets that maybe even live at home with you. Maybe you have more than one pet. That becomes a community of pets. So, we are going to be drawing this animal today, which is a ringtail lemur. As we are going through the lesson, I'm going to tell you a few little fun things about lemurs. I'm also going to help you use your lines, shapes, and colors that you have been learning to draw your picture. Today, you are going to need a white sheet of paper that looks just like this. It doesn't matter what size your paper is, as long as you have a white paper. You will also need a black or a brown marker. Now, if you don't have a black or brown marker, you could use like a dark green or maybe even just another dark color. You will also need a variety of crayons today because we are going to be coloring the picture that we draw. So let's go ahead and let's get our supplies and let's put them on our desk. Again, remember a white sheet of paper, a black or brown marker, and a variety of crayons is what you will need today. So I want you to take your white paper and I want you to put it in front of you. But today, instead of it being on its side, like it's laying on its side and horizontally, we're going to turn it vertically so that it's standing tall like a door. And just go ahead and put your paper in front of you. I'm going to give you just a little time to get your supplies together. So today we'll be drawing a picture of a zoo animal. And our zoo animal, as I've already said, is the Ringtail Lemur. But can you tell me what other kinds of animals live in a zoo? You know what? Let's think for a little bit. I want you to think of a couple of them, maybe like 3 or 4. And then I want you to turn to your neighbor and I want you to share with your neighbor the animals that you thought about. And I also want you to listen to the animals that your neighbor next to you thought about. I'll give you a little time to do this. Do it now. Very good. I heard some really good answers. Some of the ones that come to the top of my head really quick are bears, tigers, giraffes, zebras, elephants, different kinds of birds, lizards, snakes, bats, and lots more. Were any of the ones that I just said some of the ones that you told your friend or that your friend told you? Wow, that's pretty good. We were thinking about the same animals. And were there different animals that I did not say that you thought of? Good job. Oh, those are some really good ones. I like that. So, there are lots of different animals that live in the zoo. Again, we're going to be talking about community, the animals that live within the community of the zoo, and we will also be talking about people who work in that community. Now know that there are so many different kinds of communities where animals live. There's animals in a forest that are part of a community. There are animals in the ocean that are part of a community. There are animals out in the jungle that are part of a community. And how about a desert? Of course, there are animals that are parts of communities in the desert. Can you think of any other places where there may be communities of animals? Let's tell our friend. Good job. Great answers. Once again, I am ready to start drawing. So let's go ahead, put your supplies in front of you, and let's begin. So I have my papers ready and I'm ready to draw. I have my marker in my hand and let's begin. So we are going to be drawing our lemur and we're going to be adding some leaves and some vines around him because lemurs in the wild, they like to swing on long vines that hang from trees. And in the zoo, they also have lots of leaves around them and they have vines. So we're going to be adding vines because lemurs like to climb and swing on the vines. Lemurs are wild animals that live in the tropical rainforest. Basically, that is a forest that has lots of wet weather. Lemurs like to stay in the middle of the forest. They don't like to climb very high in the trees or go down to the bottom of the trees very much. They kind of just stay where all of these vines are in the wild. But we talked about lemurs and zoos, and so this little guy actually lives in a zoo, and he has several friends that live with him, and so there's a little lemur community. So let's go ahead and let's look at a couple of pictures of lemurs before we get started. So this little guy is pretty cute, don't you think? He has a long tail and, well, notice something. Black, white, black, white, black, white. That is a what? If you said a pattern, you are correct. Lemurs, or ringtail lemurs, have patterns on their tails. Their tails are super, super long, and their heads are very, very small. Do you see that? They are mostly brown or sort of gray in color. Here is another lemur, and you can see he kind of likes to sit on his little hind legs when he looks around. And here is one of his face. Look at those eyes. They are so big. Lemurs have really big eyes. They also sometimes have like white fur around their neck. So lemurs have fur on them, kind of like we have skin on our body. And I want to show you something super cute. Look at this. Look at this baby lemur that's crawled on his mom's back. Isn't that adorable? I thought you would like that. And so let's start drawing our lemur. And here is my paper that I'm going to draw on. And this is my practice paper where I'm going to show you different things that I need for you to look at while you are drawing. We're going to start first right here in the middle of our paper. And we're going to draw this part of his face. What shape do you think we could use to draw his face, boys and girls? Well, if you said this shape, you are correct. What shape is this? If you said a circle, you are definitely correct. But we're going to have to draw a really large circle for his head. So here I go. I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to go up and around, all the way down and back to the top. Very big circle. Now remember, if you make your circle this small, you're not going to be able to put his eyes on his face and his nose. It's not going to fit. We have to have a really big one. So let's look at this. Here I have a large circle. This one would be a what? Medium-sized circle, and this one would be a small circle. We need a large circle. And go ahead and draw his little face now. Or should I say his little head now. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to now use smaller circles for his eyes. And he's going to have one eye on this side and one eye on this side, just like you see here. Again, he's got really big eyes. So there's one, and there's two. Now don't worry if your circles that you just made are not the same size. It's okay. Here are his eyes, and on the inside of his eyes, we're going to draw another smaller circle. There you go. And what do you think we're going to do to the middle? Let's look. Well, if you said color it orange, we're not there yet. There is another circle we have to make on the inside. So here we go. One more circle on the inside. So we have 1, 2, 3 circles, one inside of the other. Now we're going to use our marker that we are drawing with to do some coloring today. And we'll also use our crayons to color the rest of our picture. Now notice that this big part right around here, I colored in black because a lemur has black around their eyes. So pay attention, I'm not coloring in this circle here, I'm coloring only up to the line of the circle that I drew in the middle. And I'm going to color all around that circle, just like this, so that the outside part of his fur, which is the circle right here, will be black or brown or the color that you decided to use. Lemurs have fur on them, and their fur, I bet, is super, super soft. So there's one, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, coloring the outside part of his fur right around his eye. Now don't worry, if you don't get a chance to finish coloring your picture today, you will always have time to color it later. But let's just try to color what we can together today. And there we go. You might want to try to color in some of those white spots you have, because if you notice, it's nice and solid black. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to color the inside circle just like that. We're going to leave the little white circle right around the outside edge of the small circle. Remember, if they're not exactly the same, it is okay. So now we have the beginning of our lemur's face. What do you see here? What do you think this might be, boys and girls? I think it might be his nose. Now let's look at something really careful. If you start with a dot and then you go up and around and back to that dot, what does this look like to you? Well, if you said it looks like a raindrop, you're right. It might also be like a tear falling from your face. So that's what we're going to do for his little nose. Noticing that the little point is up on the top. I'm going to put my little dot for the top, and you can do that too. I'll give you a little time to get that done. Good job. Remember, start at the top, go down and around and back to the top. Wow, look at that. That looks like a really big what? Mouth, but we're making a nose. So here we go. We're going to now make 2 more circles. Look at this. 2 small circles, one next to the other. Again, we're going to color in this part of his nose. We're not coloring in the little baby circles that we made now. We're only coloring inside of that raindrop shape. And we're coloring all the way to the lines. Again, trying to color as much of the white as you can on your paper. And there we go. There's his face. Now let's notice something up here. Do you see how this part is colored in? That is sort of the top of his head. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make that little part here. And we're going to make a curve and a curve line connected together. Or sort of like a hump line and a hump line, but we're going to connect them together. So watch this. I'm going to start here and I'm going to make a curve line and a curve line. And then I'm going to color it in. Just like this. Now when lemurs are in a community with other lemurs, they actually talk to each other. But when they talk, they make very, very, very low chirping sounds. So, what would be a chirping sound? Like chirp, 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 chirp. I would think that would be something like what a lemur would do. But you know what? Maybe you might want to look up what a lemur's little voice sounds like. You might want to look that up on the internet. Get someone to help you so you can hear what a lemur sounds like. And there we go. That's the top of his little head. Now, what are these? His super big what? If you said ears, you are right. It is his ears. And here we go. We're going to make a curved line going this way and a curved line going that way to make his ears. We're again going to put one on each side. So here we go, about right here. Big curve and then another curve coming down. I'll give you some time to draw that one. Awesome. Now let's do the same thing to the other side. Curve line and a curve line and connect it together. He now has 2 ears. Very good. And we're going to draw some parts inside of his ears also. If you notice here, I drew a smaller curve line and curve line. So here we go. This is his ear. So now I'm going to draw another curve line and another curve line right inside. So here we go. Curved line, curved line, curved line, and curved line. And there you go. It's now starting to look like our precious little lemur, isn't it? Awesome. All right, so now we want to draw some more curved lines on the inside of our lemur's little ears. All right, we're moving down to his body now, and these are basically just curved lines that start at the head and go down to the bottom of your paper. So curved line on one side. Now leave some space for his little body, and there's another one. You might also want to draw some other curved lines on the inside of his body, just like that. Awesome. We can draw some more little lines if you would like inside of his body. Now the next part is the super fun part, and that's going to be the lemur's tail. And the lemur's tail is going to look sort of like this, kind of like a hook line with a curve on the top, curve on the side and back down. So it kind of looks like the shape of a candy cane. We're going to start at the top here, and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to simply make a curved line, just like this. And then I'm going to make a curve going this way. And I'm going to make that curve come all the way back to his ear. That is the top part of his tail. All right, I'm ready to do the rest of my lemur's tail. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start about right here. And now I'm going to come down and touch his body. That is like one large curved line. And now let's do the same thing. We're going to start here. We're going to come down to the bottom of the paper. Another large curved line. Now remember that our lemur is a ringtail lemur, and I want you to know that there are lots of different kinds of lemurs in the world, not just the ringtail lemur, but this is the one that I thought would be super fun to draw today. But there are other lemurs that have tails that are maybe just brown. So this one has a pattern of light gray, black, light gray, black, light gray up his tail, but other lemurs don't have patterns. Lemurs have super long, strong tails. They use those tails to hold on to the vines as they go through the trees and the vines in the area in which they live. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to make curved lines. So curve, 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 curve. And we're just going to make curves all the way up our tail, just like this. You can make as many curved lines as you would like. And do that now. Awesome. Those look really good, boys and girls. I like all of the curved lines that you put on the lemur's tail. And what you could do is you could actually start coloring with your marker if you want. So we would color this one, we would skip one. So white, black, oh, Jennifer messed that one up. So guess what, I'm gonna fix it by just fixing that part. And then you would color this one, you would skip one color, skip one color, skip one color, skip one color, and skip one. That's how we would make our pattern. And of course, you will be able to color your lemur's tail with your black or brown or a different color marker that you've decided to use today a little bit later when you have time to finish coloring. So here you're going to color in all of those little black spots that Miss Jennifer just kind of colored in a little bit. All right, Now let's go ahead and let's move on now to the vines. When we make the vines today, we're going to kind of do. So these are loopy lines. And so I'm going to start at the top and I'm just going to make a loopy line. Just like that. You can try it again. Loopy line. That's a fun little line, don't you think? And we can make leaves. Now leaves are simply a curved line with another curved line. And you could draw a straight line in the middle with some little dashed lines, and that would make a leaf. You can put leaves anywhere on your picture that you would like. I think I'm going to put a leaf right here. Now, if your leaf is going off the edge of your paper, that is okay, because in art, a lot of times we actually like to see things kind of cut off the edge of the paper. That way, it makes the picture look like it is full. All right, so there's one. I think I'm going to make another one. Now, I am not going to make that many leaves on my picture because I want you to be able to decide where you want leaves. And when you have extra time, you can draw in more leaves. But there is something that I do want to show you before we go for the day. And that is, I want to show you how I colored my lemur's body. So I used a black and a brown. And I started with the black first, and I kind of just colored all the way around his body, just like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, because now I'm going to use another color to color in between, just like this. And notice that with those two colors, it starts to look like our lemur has different color fur on his body. Just like this. So when you're ready, you can start coloring your picture. There is his body. And one thing I want to quickly do is I want to color in his eyes. His eyes are going to be that white circle where the black circles are around it. And there are his eyes. Good job. I'm going to now color his head, and I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I think I want a little bit more brown than black on his head. There we go. So remember, in a zoo, the lemur lives with other lemurs, usually in the same little little caged in area. That's a little community of lemurs. And remember that it's the same with other animals. Maybe we think about the elephants. The elephants all live together at the zoo in a big pasture full of grass, and that is the community of elephants. But if we have lemurs and we have elephants and we have lions and we have giraffes and we have tigers, and they are all together in that zoo in different little areas, they are a part of a community altogether. Remember that the people who work at the zoo are also part of the zoo community. And so what you're going to be doing today is you are going to finish coloring your picture, whether it be at school or maybe even at home. It is up to you just when you have time. Think about the fact that a lemur likes vines and lots of leaves, so maybe you want to add more leaves to your picture today. I enjoyed working with you today, and I hope that you enjoyed this little lesson. Remember, we worked on using shapes, lines, and color for our picture today in art. Until next time, have fun coloring your picture and maybe even making another picture of a lemur, maybe for a friend or maybe for someone in your family. Take care.